But over time, I became more of a fisherman. And as I became more of a fisherman and more passionate about the sport, and more enthusiastic, my 1 rod turned into 3 rods, 4 rods, 5 rods, 6 rods, 7. By show of hands, how many people in this room own at least 7 rods and reels? I like this group. 10 rods and reels, 15 rods and reels, 20 rods and reels, 30 rods and reels, 40 rods and reels. Man, I like this group. Notice my hand's still up too? Huh? Think about my tackle box. That one little tiny tackle box turned into 2 tackle boxes, 3 tackle boxes. Now I've got to have a duffel bag to carry 100 pounds of Berkeley power baits in my boat. And the boats have gotten bigger, and we have all this compartment stuff in our, I mean, literally at the end of the season, I see a lot of people pull stuff out of their, man, I didn't know that was in there. It's been there, okay? That's part of the fun of fishing. That's part of the fun. You go to a tackle store and there's a big promotion and you're walking around looking for something, all of a sudden you see this really cool looking bait, it's a chartreuse looking color, it's $22 or whatever, and you buy it. A couple hours later you're out on the lake fishing, you fish for 2 or 3 hours and you haven't had a bite. Where does your mind start wandering? Come on. If you're fishing, you're not catching, most people start thinking about the tackle that they have with them, because what do they think? God, the fish are just not biting what I'm using, right? Can't put on a new minnow because we fish artificial. And all of a sudden you think, man, I got that brand new lure, and you reach down, dig through your stuff, find it, tie it on. Well, meanwhile, the wind has kind of been pushing your boat back into this little pocket. You've been out on the main lake for the first 2 or 3 hours of the morning, you get in the back of that pocket, and you tie it on, you stand up, and you want to throw it, and there's a bush out in the middle of the cove, and you fire it out there, engage the reel, and you get about 3 turns of the handle, and a 10-pounder launches it. You set the hook. What's the first thought that's going to go through your mind? What's the first thought? Dang, man, this lure is awesome. Biggest fish of my life, biggest fish of my career, please don't come off. And the whole time you're fighting the fish, what are you thinking? I only have one. I only have one. So you take the fish, weigh it, take a picture, turn it loose, and now you're looking at your watch thinking, that tackle store had 4 more of them hanging on that peg, and if I can get back there before it closes, I'll have them all. Explain that to your wife. Yeah, $128 for 5 lures? Yeah, right. But it was the deal. I'm trying to be gentle. This is the problem why good anglers never become great anglers. They don't give themselves any credit. And they continue to chase information available, who knows who, yada, 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 and what is the best lure for me to be using, what's the secret bait. So that's what we're all chasing. If I can get everybody in this room to think beyond that, to where now when you sit down in the bottom of the boat and you tie that fancy looking lure on, you fire out towards the bush because you just drifted off the main lake point, which you've been fishing main lake stuff for 2 hours, haven't had a bite, and now you make the first cast on an isolated bush in the back of a pocket and catch a 10-pounder? Duh! What does that just tell you? It wasn't the lure that caught the fish, it was you, the angler, that caught that fish. Because I guarantee you, if I was in the boat with you, just sitting back in my little notepad watching you fish, every fish that you catch, I can write at least 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 other lures that we could have caught that same fish on. The only reason why the fish bit the lure that you had at the time, it was the only lure you had tied on the end of your line. So my definition of a secret lure is a lure I have tied on the end of my line when I'm catching fish. And the more fish I catch on that lure, doesn't become more of a secret? Dude, you can have a lot of fun with people. And just to show you that there's really no secrets, a buzzbait. How many people in this room throw buzzbait? I mean, in Ohio, it's probably little buzzbait up here, but I'm just jacking with you. I do too. And there's 3 colors of buzzbaits. What are they? White, chartreuse, and black. Okay? Those are my favorite colors too. So it goes to show there's no secrets. It's the individual that's tied the lure on the end of their line and making the cast. So the next time you start catching fish, I want you to pat yourself on the back, say, dude, I can do this, okay? I can really catch fish. Because when you start building confidence in your own ability to go out and find and locate and catch fish, first thing you want to do is take your wife fishing, take your kids fishing, and share that experience with your friends and your buddies and get more people out there on the water. And you become more of a teacher. You know, man, these fish are sitting on this little break in 28 feet, can't catch them on this, but boy, you slide that little jig over there, you're going to catch them. That's the fun of fishing. And I hate to see people get involved in a sport, and this sport eats up a lot of people because it's not a cheap sport. It's not a cheap sport, especially when you look at, you know, the cost of the boats and electronics, and, you know, it just goes on and on and on and on, where, you know, you can get a lot wrapped up real quick. Rods, reels, lures, and all the tackle, tow vehicles and all that bit. The bottom line is fishing. That bass that you're trying to catch doesn't know whether you're a 12-year-old kid standing on the bank casting, or if you're in an $80,000 bass boat casting, or if you're in a float tube or a kayak or anything like that. You still have to tie the lure on the end of the line and present it. And all this other stuff that we talk about is just to help you better your experience on the water. The boats we run, I can fish trouble-free all day long, big water, little water, whatever. That's all that is. And the guys that are looking at buying should not be looking at a purchase as a cost. Should be looking at that purchase as an investment. Because what better place to invest the money than, you know, to yourself, within yourself, to make your enjoyment that much better on the water. But anyhow, I can't harp on that enough. I told you about it. Fishing lures and tackle is going to be the one thing that everybody will get caught up in and can't get beyond. So you got to do a lot of homework and try, you know, learn, and evaluate. And that's one of the great things about the Bass University is there's so much knowledge that's thrown at you. You may not use it tomorrow, you may not use it next week, but I guarantee you sometime in your career as you travel around the country, you're going to think, dang, now I know what they're saying. Now I know what they were talking about. This is the right action to do whatever it is you're doing. So all this information is good if you, as an angler, develop a system to where you can take this information and do something with it. If not, you know, you sit in here and you listen, and you go listen to another fisherman, you go listen to another fisherman, and you're still just a good fisherman. Somebody that has a passion for the sport, which I love it. I mean, even if I was not a competitive angler, I'm going to go fishing. That's the way I was raised. And, you know, I get pretty tight about every 4 or 5 days if I don't go fishing. So I fish quite a lot. Super Bowl Sunday, I got to go fishing in Texas. And water was 49.2 degrees. I'm without a boat right now. My new boat's being rigged, which I hate swapping boats, because once you get one dialed in, then you got to go get another one. But anytime you fish small bodies of water or other places, it's important to figure out what the deal is. You know, fish have personalities, and for that day or for that week or for that season, you get dialed in on the technique. You know, if you're fishing jerkbait, maybe, you know, it's a twitch and let it sit when the water's cold, you know, a slow twitch and let it sit. You know, once you figure out the bite, then all of a sudden it picks up. And my day last Sunday was no different. We fished for 45 minutes, had one bite on a big cow-bladed spinnerbait, which is one of my favorite things to fish at this time of year. My buddy caught it, it was a 4-pounder. We made a loop around a 25-acre lake. It was a rock quarry lake. And I told him, I said, I know what's going on. He goes, what do you mean? I said, you watch. I pulled the trolling motor out and caught 2 4.5s back to back. And by the time we put the boat out, on the trailer at 4 o'clock, his big engine battery wouldn't crank, no electronics. So anyhow, one of those days, the trolling motor worked. We ended up catching 62 fish, lost 14, and our best 5 weighed 27. And literally when we figured them out, I'm the type of fisherman that I like to answer the questions. So if I get set up on a place where I can catch them every cast using a certain technique, my deal as a fisherman is not catching the fish. I mean, I've caught quite a few fish in my career, and I'm not saying it's boring, but to me it's the cast and the bite. I mean, I'd soon just set the hook and hand it to somebody else and let them reel it in, then I don't have to take them off the hook. And when I find a big group of fish, I don't sit there and catch them. I mean, I might get 4 or 5, whatever bites, and then I'm changing lures, trying to confirm why I'm catching those fish on what it is.
It's Mike Iaconelli. This is Bass U TV.
Here's what's awesome about Bass U TV.
You get the top instructors.
You will learn things at Bass U that you will learn nowhere else.
We take the mystery and the myths out of bass fishing.
Real tools that help you catch more fish consistently.
At Bass U TV, shoes are optional.
And I like turtles.
And that's why you want to check out Bass U TV.
Join the Bass U family.
Welcome to Bass U TV.